How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Tzadi, Daf 90 of Masechet Nedarim, friends. Today we talk about more complicated Nedarim stuff, but specifically we get into the concept of can you be Mayfair or do Ataris Nedarim for a neder that hasn't actually kicked in yet. Okay, fine. So we can start with the Mishnah Daf Peites Amud Beis in the middle of the Amud. Konam she'eni nene le'aba u'lavicha. She says that I am not going to get benefit from my father or from your father. Im osani al picha. If I do anything to benefit you, so then I can no longer get benefit from my father, okay, or from your father. So in that case, at the very least, there's Devarim Shebeinu Leveina, right? Because she's, either she doesn't benefit the husband, which is Devarim Shebeinu Leveina, or she does benefit the husband, but then the neder kind of kicks in, but kind of only kicks in at that point. And she says, or alternatively, if she says, I'm not going to get benefit from you, im osani al pi abba al pi avicha, if I do, something for my father, for your father, harei ze yafer. So the Chacham say, the Mishnah says that he could be mayfair that neder. Says the Gemara Tanya she'eni nenes la'abba u'la'avicha, that I'm not going to get benefit, that I'm not going to benefit your father or my father, ani osa leficha, if I do anything for you. Okay? Rabbi Nosson Omer lo yafer. So Rabbi Nosson says it cannot be mayfair that neder, because nothing happened yet, right? It's a neder in the future. Nothing actually happened currently. It's something that the neder has not yet been chal. But Chacham om yafer, whereas the Chacham say that nonetheless you can be mayfair that neder, even though nothing has yet happened. Right? He's saying, right, if I benefit you, so then I won't be able to benefit my father or your father. But nothing has currently happened. Rabbi Nosson says he cannot be made for that neder. The Chacham say that he can. Okay. Netula'ani min aYehudim. If she says that I won't be able to have beer with any of the Jews, including her husband, im misham shasech, if I have beer with you. So basically, if she has beer with him, then she can no longer have beer with him, because then she can't have beer with any Jews. And if she doesn't have beer with him, since she's not having beer with him, Rabbi Nosson Omer lo yafer. Rabbi Nosson says he can't be mayfair because nothing has happened yet. The Chacham say that he can be mayfair that neder. Ha'u gavra de itzer hanoyosa de alma ole. So there was a certain fellow, and he made the following stipulation. He says that he won't get any benefit from the world. Inosiv itza kilo tanina ilchsa. If he gets married before going to the yeshiva first to study. Right? So you have a fellow, and basically, I guess he's determined that before he gets married, he's going to study in yeshiva. And he says, if I get married before studying in yeshiva, so then so then all of the benefit of the world is forbidden to me. So again, there was a fellow, the Itzra Anoyosa the Alma, he made the benefit of the entire world forbidden upon him. Ole, Inos Itza Kilo Tanina Hilchisa. If he were to get married prior to studying halacha. Right, bigapa vitovlaya. So he went with his walking staff and his purse, and apparently it means he went to yeshiva. But v'lo amtze lemisna, but he didn't really succeed over there. So he was basically struggling. Right, he made this neder. Now the neder didn't kick in yet, right? He says, I'm only going to, right, he says, if I get married prior to studying properly in yeshiva, so then all the benefit of the world is also to him. He's in yeshiva. He hasn't yet studied. He hasn't yet accomplished as much as he would like to accomplish, right? So he can't yet get married. But at the same time, the studies aren't going so well. He's not cut out for it. So he's basically stuck. Here he is, right? If he gets married, then he won't be able to get benefit from the world. At the same time, in order for him to be able to get married, he has to study, and achieve in yeshiva, but he's struggling. He's not really achieving so much. So he basically can't get married, and he's also not achieving in his studies. Also, Rav Acha bar Rav Huna v'shabshe v'insev itzeh. So Rav Acha bar Rav Huna tricked the fellow and he got married. So now that he's married, so the neder kicks in, and he's not allowed to get benefit from the world. Visharke tina, and then Rav Acha bar Rav Huna made the guy's clothing all dirty, which means that he was going to have to benefit from somebody doing his laundry. And now he comes to Rav Chisda. So what Rav Acha bar Rav Huna did, right, meaning this guy said that if I don't go to yeshiva, if I get married before going to yeshiva, at that point, the benefit of the world is going to be also to him. Now, he didn't yet get married, so the benefit of the world was not yet usher, but at the same time, the way for him to be able to get married was for him to study properly in yeshiva, but he was having a hard time in yeshiva, he was basically stuck, and it meant that he was never going to get married, and if he did, right, but at the same time, the shaila was, could he be matir the neder if it hasn't yet kicked in yet, because he hasn't yet gotten married yet? So Rav Acha bar Rav Huna, what he did was he tricked him into getting married, so that then the neder would kick in, and he would be unable to get benefit from the world. He then got the guy dirty, so that he would have to get benefit from the world by cleaning his clothing, and he then took him to Rav Chisda to do Hataras Nedarim now that the neder has kicked in. Amar Rave, says Rave, man chokim lemebod ki amilsa ilav Rav Acha bar Rav Huna d'gavarabahu. And Rava says, wow, who would have, gone through all of these steps to trick the guy into getting married so that he could then kick in the neder and then get him dirty so that he has to get benefit and then take him to Rav Chisda so he could do a Hataras Nedarim. He must have been Rav Acha bar Rav Huna because he's a great individual, the Kasaver because he holds the Heichi de Plige Rabbanan v'Rab Nosson ba'Afare that just like there's the machlokas between the Rabbanon and Rab Nosson with regard to Afara, that Rab Nosson says that you can't do Afaras Nedarim if the neder hasn't yet kicked in. So also when it comes to Hataras Nedarim, to be able to go to a sage to get the vow revoked, you would only be able to do it once it kicks in, and Rav Acha bar Rav Huna didn't want to sort of take sides on the machlokas, and he therefore, sort of worked it out so that the guy would get married to then invoke, which would then memela invoke the neder, and then he would be able to go to Rav Chisda and do Hataras Nedarim once the neder was already invoked. Now says Rav Papi, machlokas ba'afare. So says Rav Papi that the machlokas between Rab Nosson and the Chachamim, with regard to can you be mefer or can you not be mefer a neder that has not yet kicked in, so that is by afara. Can you do afaras nedarim? The Rab Nosson Sover Eina Ba Mefer Elim Kin Chol Neder, that Rab Nosson says you can only be mefer if the neder already kicked in. The Chsiv is the pasuk says v'chafra alavana. I don't know, somehow that means this because chafra is like hafara and levana means like a neder or something. I don't know, and I guess it already kicked in. Rabbanan Tzaveh Baal Mefer Afal Pishalo Chol Neder, whereas the Rabbanan say the husband can be Mefer even though the neder is not yet Chal. Dichsev Mefer Machshavos Arumim, that you can be Mefer even the Machshavos, the intentions. Okay, fine. No, so says Rav Papi that this machlokas between Rab Nosson and the Chacham is dafka by afaras nedarim. Avo b'sheila, when it comes to ataras nedarim, tivrei hakol ein chacham matir klum elim kin chol neder. But when it comes to ataras nedarim, both Rab Nosson and the Chacham hold that you can only be matir the neder if it already kicked in. It already kicked in. The Chsiv, the pasuk says lo yachol devaro, that by ataras nedarim it says devaro, his word, that his word is already mekayim, that it's already there, it's already happening. Okay, fine. Okay, so that's Rav Papi, that when it comes to ataras nedarim, everybody agrees you can only be matir neder that has already kicked in. Leima misayele, and let's say that the following supports Rav Papi, konum she'eni neder lefloni ulemisha eshel olav. You hear this scheme? A fellow says, I'm not going to get benefit from a certain individual, and if I do a hataras nedarim, well then the sage who did the hataras nedarim for me, I'm not going to get benefit from him either. So it's like a two-stage release. So currently, at this moment in time, he's not allowed to get benefit from the individual, but the sage has not yet been matir the neder, so he can still get benefit from the sage. It's only once the sage is matir the neder against this other individual, right? Meaning he said, right? Reuven says he's not going to get benefit from Shimon. So only if this sage is matir the neder so that Reuven can get benefit from Shimon, only at that point can now Reuven not get benefit from the sage. But at this point, The sage hasn't been matir the neder, so he still can get benefit from the sage. Nishal al rishon v'achar kach nishal al sheni, and the Gemara says, the Brisa says, so what do? First he gets ataris nedarim so that he can get benefit from Shimon, and then he needs to get a second ataris nedarim so that he can get benefit from the sage. So v'i amart nishal afal pisha lo chol neder, and if you say that you can do ataris nedarim even before the vow is chal, iboy al hay nitzil b'reisha, iboy al hay nitzil b'reisha, well then, the prescribed order of the Brisa should be irrelevant, right? The Brisa says first he does ataris nedarim so that he can get benefit from Shimon. Once he's done that, and now his neder against the sage has kicked in, at that point he does ataris nedarim for that one, because only once it's kicked in can you get an ataris nedarim. And therefore it sounds like what we're saying is that it has to kick in before you can do ataris nedarim, because if you could do ataris nedarim even before it kicks in, well then why does he first have to get ataris nedarim for Shimon and then get ataris nedarim for the sage? Who cares what order he does it in if he could be matir the neder even before it kicks in? Umiyada ihai kama ihai basra. But then the Gemara says, but not necessarily, because nobody specified, right, when it says the first one and then the second one, right? It says first he gets ataris nedarim for the first one, then for the second one. Who says that the first one is for Shimon and the second one is for the sage? Maybe it's the other way around. It's not right. First and second isn't particularly descriptive. Let's say that the following is a support for a puppy. The floni, that he makes a neder, he's not going to get benefit from a certain individual. And if I do ataris nedarim so that I can get benefit from Shimon, then at that point I will become a nazir. Nishal al nidra v'achar kach nishal al nizra. We say that, well, first he does ataris nedarim so that he can get benefit from Shimon, and then once he did that, and now the naziris kicks in, at that point he can get ataris nedarim for the naziris, but not prior to that. I.e., only once the naziris kicked in can he do ataris nedarim for it. V'amrit nishal afal pisha lo chol neder. And if you say that he could do ataris nedarim even prior to the neder kicking in, ibay al nidro itchil b'reisha, ibay al nizro itchil b'reisha, then he shouldn't have to wait until the naziris kicks in to be matir the naziris. He should already be able to be matir the naziris before then. He should be able to be matir the neder for Shimon if he wants to, or alternatively, if he wants to, he could be matir the naziris right now. Right? He wouldn't have to do it in a particular order. So it must be that first, it must be that he can only be matir the neder once it kicks in, and that's why he first has to be matir the neder so that he can get benefit from Shimon, at which point the naziris will kick in, and then he can be matir the naziris. But says the Gemara, that's not necessarily a proof that everybody agrees, because Hamani Reb Nosson, you could just say that the author of that Brisa is Reb Nosson, who says that you can only be matir once it kicks in, but it's not clear that everybody would agree that the Chacham, it's not clear that the Chacham would agree with that. Maybe the Chacham would say they can be matir even if it hasn't yet kicked in. Amr Ravina, Amrli Meramer, says Ravina that Meramer said to him, Hachi Amr Avuch, this is what your father said, Mishmeder of Papi. So Meramer says to Ravina that Meramer told him, Ravina, that his father had said the name of a Papi, Machlok is Ba'afar, that while the Machlok is between Reb Nosson and the Chacham is by Afaras Nedarim Avol, B'She'ela Divrei Akol Mefer V'Afal Pisha Lo Chol Neder. But when it comes to Ataris Nedarim, not Mefer, Matir. But everybody agrees that by Ataris Nedarim you can be Matir even though the neder is not yet Chal. As it says that you do Ataris Nedarim by Devaro. Just words. Remember the Lo'ava B'Maisa. That there hasn't yet been a Maisa, even if it hasn't yet kicked in yet, you could already do Ataris Nedarim. But Meisve, Konim She'eni Nene Lefloni Ulemisha Nishal Olav, that if a fellow says that, Reuven says he's not going to get benefit from Shimon, and if he does Ataris Nedarim in front of a sage, well then he won't be able to get benefit from that sage either. Nishal al Arishan v'achar kach nishal al Sheni. And it says that first he does Ataris Nedarim so that he can get benefit from Shimon, and then he does ataris nedarim so he can get benefit from the sage. But Amai, if what you're saying is correct, that everybody agrees that he does not, that it does not yet have to kick in to do the ataris nedarim, let him first do the ataris nedarim on either one that he wants, either for Shimon or for the sage. So then the Gemara says, yeah, but miyodea, hey, rishon vei sheni. Nobody, it wasn't clear exactly when it says that first he does ataris nedarim for the first one and then the second one. Which is the first one? Which is the second one? Is the first one the sage? Is the first one the shemin? I mean, it's unclear. But meisvei kodim sheni nene v'areni nazir l'chshe'eshel olav. That if a fellow says, if Reuven says he's not going to get benefit from shemin, and if he does ataris nedarim, so then he becomes a nazir. Nishal al nidro v'achar kach nishal al nidro. So first he does ataris nedarim so that he can get benefit from shemin, and only then, once the nazirus kicks in, can he do ataris nedarim for the nazirus. Ve'amai ibay al nizro nitshil b'reisha v'ibay al nizro nitshil b'reisha. If what you're saying is correct, that you could do ataris nedarim even though it hasn't kicked in yet, well then let him do ataris nedarim even for the nazirus, right? Let him do for ataris nedarim for the nazirus first, for shemin first. It shouldn't make a difference. Tiyufta, so that is taka a starke kasha that we don't have an answer for, because yes, that would definitely seem like the neder would have to kick in before you can be materet. Friends, that was daf tzadi, daf 90 of Masechta Nedarim. I hope you enjoyed. Tomorrow we will be Messiah Mirza Hashem Masechta Nedarim. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out. Bye.